I will now call the meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Here.
Here.
Member Girardi. Vice President Irvin.
Here.
President Cornett.
Here. Item 2, public comment. Members of the audience may at this time address the Board of Education regarding only matters on the closed session and study session agendas. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the Board of Education? Not seeing anyone, we'll go into our item 3, study session, multi-year vision and planning.
Thank you, Board President Cornett. I am glad to be here tonight. I want to jump right in tonight with what we have for the board during this study session. But before that, I want to thank you for your ongoing leadership and your commitment to the Palm Springs Unified School District community. And what you're going to discuss with me tonight is a draft, a very rough draft version of focused priorities that complement the work that you have already done as a board over time, and that will lead to the results that the board wants to see. So before we get into that, I wanted to give you two documents or give your attention to two documents. One is this, a presentation that says excellence on the front. That's the one you will need. And then we'll have a side-by-side document as well that will have corresponding measures, and it says PSUSD Strategic Framework. All that's in your little blue folder right there in front of you. So those two documents, I'll be referring to both as we go. So those are the only two that we're going to have for this time period. But board, I want to take you back in time just a little bit. As I began my my leadership journey here in Palm Springs Unified School District in July of 2025, you talked to me about getting focused on increased student achievement. You also talked to me about ensuring that we make gains on the California dashboard, but to also honor the work that has already been done by the board and by the community and by our teams, but begin to move the district forward to make the gains for all of our scholar groups. And in my first 100-day plan, I've provided the information where I met with scholars, staff, community members, families, principals, community partners, and the overarching priorities that came out of the first 100 days was align district goals and priorities, strengthen academic excellence, improve and sustain positive behavior supports, deepen commitment to equity, foster shared leadership and voice, continue to build systems and innovation for future leaders, and also continue the process with the modernization of our schools. And so with that being said, I talked to the board about embarking on a multi-year vision planning process. And I brought in Mr. Jim DeLizio, who facilitated that process with some of our board members were interviewed, and we are still going through that process as well, getting your feedback now. We had a core planning group, meaning our full cabinet was involved in getting information to the facilitator. We had a consensus group, which consisted of principals, union reps, DLAC members, APAC members and representatives, nonprofits, city council leaders, Terry Ketover, to name a few. We had our thought leaders from RCOE, COD, CSUSB, Rotary Clubs, Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians. We had parent representatives give us feedback from SPED, each of our areas, Palm Springs, Cathedral City, Desert Hot Springs, and Rancho Mirage. We also had community partners like Mark Talkington and Matthew Hogut, from KGAY, and many others. We had business partners from the foundation, Lori Baker and Gentron Taveros, and other business leaders give us feedback. And we also pushed out a number of staff surveys to get to where we are right now to present to you what we call our preliminary draft and measures and goals. And the last thing I wanted to say before we jump into that, we had Mr. Jim DeLizio spend a full morning with our principals talking about their leadership and things that they wanted to see in the district and how we can help move our schools forward. So what I'd like to do tonight is walk the board through this draft of this multi-year vision and talk about how it aligns with our current operational expectations, but also be very clear about being focused on coherence across the district and a way to unite our staff, families, and community partners. So first up is this excellence presentation that you have. That would be, this is just a draft, but this is a draft of something that our community would see, a document that we would, once we have board input and approval, and once we go through a process of finalizing, push it out to the community and across all of our sectors, that this is what we are about for the next 5 years and how we're going to get the results that we want to see. And as you can see at the bottom, lifelong learning starts here is there. If you turn the page, you also see our mission statement, and we bolded some words that stand out to us as we've been listening to feedback and input: equity, engage, all, succeed. And so those words stand out to us as what's important for our district and our community. And then finally, the next page says, we empower each scholar with the knowledge, skills, and experiences to discover and pursue their path. And that statement came from summarizing all of the feedback that we got from many of our partners and staff. And so if you turn the page, you will see our leadership, our Board of Education there. That is an integral part of our school district and gives us direction on where we go. And you also see our executive cabinet there, because the board and executive team work in partnership. And what I'd like to do now, while you have that, while you turn the next page to the pillars, you should be on the pillar page. On the strategic framework, if you could turn to page 3 as well. The numbers are at the bottom of the page. If you can turn to the pillars, and on the strategic framework, turn to page 3. These things will go hand in hand. So what I'm going to do right now is talk through the 3 pillars. And as I talk through the 3 pillars, I'll go through the measures and goals of each. And then I'll open up for questions after each pillar. And I think that would allow us to use our time effectively and efficiently. And you were able to give me feedback, ask questions, raise any questions that you might have, or points of clarification. So as we talk through all of our partners and staff, and been getting board feedback and direction as well throughout my evaluation process, there are 3 main pillars that stand out to us that is very critical for helping to move Palm Springs Unified forward. And that's equity and excellence in scholar performance and preparedness. That's a sense of belonging and connectedness, which we spent a lot of time on last study session. And then also culture and organizational excellence. Now, if you can turn to that next page, you'll see the first pillar spelled out in the priorities. The next page, in the strategic plan. We're still on page 3, but in the presentation, you should be on the page where it says equity and excellence in scholar performance and preparedness. So under that pillar, here are the things that we want to accomplish between now and 2031, and that are in alignment with OE4, Personnel Administration, OE10, Instructional Program, OE11, Learning Environment and Treatment of Students, and OE13, Diversity and Racial Equity. So if you look at the first bullet point, it says, all scholars achieve academic growth through equitable and targeted support and are prepared for the next level of learning. The second bullet says, curriculum, instruction, and assessment are aligned across all sites to ensure a high-quality teaching and strong student outcomes. And then the third bullet point, you see all scholars have equitable access to educational experiences that expand knowledge, develop essential skills, and inspire their path forward. Those words are key to what we've heard from not only our scholars, but from our community and our staff and our leaders. And then the fourth, all scholars have access to comprehensive supports that build resilience, provide access to resources, and enable learning. Now, if you look over here on the framework, It breaks down for you how we plan to achieve these priorities. So, the first priority is teacher effectiveness. What do we do as a district? Well, we ensure consistency in planning, implementation, and support for effective Tier 1 instruction. So if you look under that first, number one, how we're going to measure that? Well, over the next 5 years, we want 100% of our classrooms to demonstrate effective Tier 1 instruction, as evidenced by walkthroughs from the school site leaders and observation data. The second area is to provide teachers with effective coaching, feedback, and professional development to deliver effective Tier 1 instruction. How do we measure that? Well, over the next 5 years, 100% of teachers will receive actionable feedback monthly through site administrator walkthroughs. And 100% of professional development that we bring into the district should be research-based and aligned to improving Tier 1 instruction. And then number three, ensure that our administrators have the time and tools to be strong instructional leaders. How do we measure that? Well, 100% of our sites demonstrate effective PLC implementation, as evidenced by regular collaboration, data-driven instructional planning, administrator participation, and improved teaching practices. That's what we oversee as an executive team. And then 100% of site administrators participate in and lead regular instructional rounds and equity walks with documented feedback and follow-up actions to strengthen instruction and equity. And then there's another strategic issue, scholar readiness. We want to intentionally embed learning experiences aligned with the 4 pillars of Portrait of a Graduate: collaboration, communication, problem solving, and work ethic, from TK up to grade 12. And then you see the corresponding measure there. I'm almost done with this one, then I'll open it up to you for any feedback. The next strategic issue under equity, excellence, and scholar performance and preparedness is alignment of our curriculum. We want to make sure that we clarify and ensure understanding of instructional standards, TK through 12, and align all of our ongoing assessments across the district so that 100% of our lesson plans demonstrate clear alignment to priority standards, learning objectives, and success criteria, and that every PSUSD team member receives an evaluation reinforcing those beliefs, and PSUSD administrators receive ongoing employee evaluation training to support the implementation of quality evaluations and feedback. Another measure, complete implementation and regular evaluation of our MTSS systems, so multi-tiered systems of support. And we believe within the next 5 years, 100% of our school sites will implement an effective multi-tiered system of support framework with clearly defined Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 supports for all of our scholars. And then at least 85% of our scholars will be successful in Tier 1 instruction and support as measured by academic progress. And then finally, the last 2, scholar supports. It is our goal to remove barriers and target services to achieve equitable access to scholar supports at each school site. How do we measure that? 100% of our students identified as needing support and equitable access to appropriate Tier 2 and Tier 3 services, meaning we keep track of all of our scholars throughout the district with effective MTSS systems. And then lastly, equity. Reduce academic disparities amongst all student groups through targeted strategies and excellence in instruction and intervention across all of our school sites. And we want to measure that by annually decreasing student group disproportionality in discipline and achievement 5% annually through equitable access to effective implementation of Tier 2 and Tier 3 MTSS supports at every site. I'm going to stop there because that was a lot said. And that is the first pillar of our preliminary priorities and measures and goals for equity and excellence in scholar performance and preparedness.
I'll just ask a quick question. So with all of these different tier goals that we have here, realistically we want to reach that, but where do we think that we'll be with these numbers, and where are we at now with these numbers?
Which one are you referring to in particular?
So just in general, it looks like each one of the classrooms demonstrates effectiveness in Tier 1. Just any one of these, 100%. So we're saying 100% on all of these.
Yes,
do we have an idea of where we are now?
So an estimated baseline of school sites implementing effective multi-tiered systems of support would be around maybe 40, 45% across the district. That's an estimate based on looking at our systems of MTSS, multi-tier systems of support. There are some schools that are out front, and there are some schools that need more systems alignment.
And so realistically, do you think that we're going to be able to make that 100%?
Within 5 years, I do. Now some, and if you look at a process of continuous improvement, we can begin to implement these things within a year or two, right, across our sites. But to be effective, and it takes that system of improvement, going back, looking at what we're doing well, what needs to be improved to be effective. So we feel like between now and 2031, as we implement, we can make sure that all of our schools have these effective systems in place. Yes, sir.
And I always like to play the opposite role.
Yes, sir.
What happens if we're not reaching or getting to where we need to?
Right. And that's a real possibility. And so if you're not getting the gains that you want to see, then obviously there's a gap in the system. So then we come back to the table. That's the process, the cycle of continuous improvement. We don't implement something and leave it alone. We implement it, and then we begin to monitor it, and we make changes to provide the best possible systems improvement that are needed. And if we are not getting there, then we have to look, is it leadership or is it something system? Is it skill or will? But if we put the right systems in place over time, we should be able to get there.
And
if we do not, we need to hold ourselves accountable.
do you believe putting it as far out as 5 years gives us a chance to correct that if it's going in the wrong direction, or do you think we should revisit or keep looking at it throughout this 5-year period?
Yeah, I think throughout the 5-year period, because what research shows is that a system and deep systematic change takes 3 to 5 years for it to be sustainable. So you want to make sure you give yourself time to implement system and then monitor and improve them.
So would we come back in 3 years to see if we're on track to get
So we would come back as a team board annually, just looking at our systems and progress, sir.
I'm just curious, Marcus. These strategies to achieve these objectives, would they be implemented in a staggered management?
Yes, they would be implemented in maybe a phased-in process. So some of the work that we have to do continually once we feel like we're headed in the right direction, have some board confidence as well, we'd go back and say, okay, what's first? For example, we know that our classrooms and giving teachers feedback and giving our administrators PD is number one. Then we can look towards the other areas. Let's say MTS systems. That might be a process where we begin to tailor in towards the end of next school year, then going into year 2 of this process. So yeah, you can't do everything at once or the system will fall apart. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sorry. I know that this looks so comprehensive and so deep into planning and thought and preparation based on all the feedback. And I know about teacher training and professional development. How is it this is monitored?
Yeah.
And at what points is it, 3 times a year, trimester, mid-year? And how do the coaches and TOSAs get the first round of training? How does that work?
Yeah. So some of these systems will still have to be built, but I'll answer it this way for what we need to do. So any professional development that you're providing, you need to monitor it real time, meaning you are providing TOSAs and classroom teachers, let's say third grade, for example. You're giving them professional development on strong tier 1 instruction and student engagement. Well, you want to make sure that those TOSAs are going out coaching those teachers on those things that they have learned. And then throughout the school year, you're getting feedback from not only the teachers through surveys, but the principals as well on are these professional development strategies working? And not only are you looking at the qualitative feedback, Mrs. Jarrell, you're also looking at your assessments. Are students beginning to score better because of what we're providing the teachers for professional development? And so it's annually, but you can do it quarterly or by each semester, and you usually tap into the classroom teachers, you tap into the administrators, and you also look at assessment data and how students are scoring. And as Mr. Irvin was just asking, if things are not working, then you go back to the drawing board and you make adjustments for that. I hope that answers your question. So you're monitoring continuously through a process of continuous improvement.
So in the rollout,
Yes, ma'am.
there's specific like benchmarks for unit planning, for assessment. All of this would be in a calendar or in a document on Canvas or whatever you use, and teachers would see where they need to be and what they need to be doing. I think you did that on a one-pager already.
Right. We would have to build out professional development calendar, scope and sequences, and things like that, so that, yeah, teachers can also track, and we can track as well. And then we will know where we're going as a district. And that's kind of the beauty of a vision. People know what's expected, and they know what's happening around the district. It's a great question.
I just have a comment about, as a Board of Education, when you were hired, this is exactly the direction the board was given to you, is that we find a plan where all of us, the entire district, is in the same place and are working towards the same goals. I mean, it's important to have, if we don't have excellent, best first instruction, we're at a loss to begin with. I mean, you can have as many interventions as you want, but if the first instruction that our scholars get is not the best that it can be, then we're already at a loss.
I'm in agreement with that with all my years of being an educator. What happens right in that classroom is first and foremost what's important. Yes, sir.
I had a quick question. And this 5-year multi-year vision, how will be effective for a student that will be only 1 year with this vision, or 2 years, versus that? Okay, yeah.
Well, if a scholar, if they're already with us, and next year is their last year with us, and they'll take advantage of the student voice and giving us feedback and some of the early professional learning for the teachers, right? If we're going towards student engagement or whatever that professional learning is. But if they're scholars that come to us and then they leave, I would say that I answer it this way. They're able to come into a classroom where no matter where they are in the district, there's some set expectations, some priority standards, and there's a level of learning at 3rd grade, 4th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade that we expect across the district. So that's how I answer that today.
Thank you.
If no other questions there, I'm going to move on to the next one, which is, if you can turn to page 5. Yes, thank you, sir. And then also in your presentation, it's sense of belonging and connectedness. Now, as I was listening to the board during our last study session, you are very proud, as you should be, of the work that we have done in this district to get our scholars connected across multiple paths, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's after-school programs. So this sense of belonging and connectedness is also aligned to OE3, treatment of our constituents, communication with the public, which is OE9, OE11, learning environment, treatment of students, and OE13, diversity and equity. And as the board talked about a few weeks ago, how do we begin to do things differently and go out in the community, even in churches and other areas, to tap into and help our parents become more engaged? So here's what we're saying. We're saying all scholars have equitable access to programs and experiences beyond the classroom that deepen engagement, cultivate belonging, and support their overall growth. We're saying all scholars, families, and staff, and community members, because staff are important as well, they are welcome, valued, and affirmed. And no matter where you're from, you are affirmed. You are an important part of this district. We appreciate you and your voice matters. The third bullet, all sectors of the community actively partner across the district to support scholars' success. And the last one, parents and families have multiple pathways to engage in their scholars' learning and have equitable access to the support they need to succeed. So I'm going to jump into page 5 over here, just on what those measures would look like right now in an early stage. We're still working through these to hone in on them, but here's what we have today. So the first one is parent and family partnership and engagement. Clarify expectations for ideal parent and family engagement at each grade level and mitigate barriers to achieve. So what might that look like? Increase parent and family engagement by 25% as we get a baseline this year, or going into next year, through expanded participation in volunteering, district and site learning opportunities, and meaningful two-way communication, which can go back to what was stated about going out into the community, while monitoring and reducing barriers to access, learning how to break down these barriers, right? Number 2, increase parent and family support for scholars' learning and provide tools with a particular focus on consistent attendance. We know that post-pandemic chronic absenteeism has been something to overcome. So we want to reduce chronic absenteeism by 3% annually by strengthening our parent and family support, increasing attendance, focus on communication, and providing tools and resources that promote consistent scholar attendance. Student engagement through active cultivation of scholar voice, meaning being out on campuses, listening to our young people, our student groups. What do you need from us? What do you think about? Better understand and enhance a sense of belonging and connectedness. And here's our measure, which you had access to last week, and you saw it improving, but we think we can continue to do better. Increase scholar survey scores for sense of belonging and connectedness by 3 percentage points annually for each student group, with the reduction in gaps between the groups, which you are aware of. Community relations. Expand our scholars' educational experiences through meaningful partnerships and real-world learning opportunities with businesses, industry, higher education, and community organization, something that our business community is clamoring to get in on, right? Achieve 50% increase in the number of community partners actively engaged as mentors, internship, apprenticeship hosts, guest speakers, and contributors to academies, pathways, and career days. That's a measure that we think would help us here with the connectedness and sense of belonging. And then finally, on page 6, expand relationships with media to curate stories of the positive impact that the district and its scholars have across our community. And increase by at least 25% annually the number of positive media stories featuring scholar success across our district, staff impact, district initiatives, family engagement, and efforts to raise student achievement. So it's like you're getting everybody moving towards this excitement for student achievement, even in our media partners, which we're already doing, but are going to focus in a lot more on. And then the last thing, communication. Strengthen communication systems to better inform, engage, and build trust among all school community partners through clear, timely, and effective two-way communication. So ensure that 100% of our school sites are implementing consistent two-way communication practices with families, including regular outreach, accessible messaging, and opportunities for feedback from their parents. So it's saying, hey, we understand that some school sites may be out front more than others, but let's get all of our school sites heading in this direction with a standard of connecting with our parents and partners. So I'll stop there on that second pillar of a a sense of belonging and connectedness.
Marcus,
Yes.
for example, I was at the Celebrate Bilingualism
Yes.
celebration last week, and if you looked at the audience, there were hundreds of people there. There was no sign-in, and that sometimes can be intimidating for parents to sign in,
Okay.
right? So no one's counting with a clicker. When we're there to celebrate the kids, and the parents just came in with, even with the homemade salsa and stuff. It was huge, huge audience. So I guess to the point is,
Yes.
how do we measure that? You know, being out to the farm,
Right.
people said it was 600 people here today, 700. Then I asked somebody else, it's 400. So how do we be accurate in increasing that engagement?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how I've seen it done, and it's hard. It's sometimes challenging because you want people to feel comfortable coming in and not counting as they go. But the best way to do it is either have a RSVP. Many times people don't fill that out. Or you have families sign in, or you have someone as a designated counter of persons there, so you can accurately get a count of who was there and report that out, so we can see, are we making a difference? And we would do that through our school site leadership. But that's a great question, when we'd have to find the best way to make sure that works for us.
I would suggest maybe having raffle tickets. You know, once a person believes that it's an opportunity for them to win something, they're more prone to take something, or either they're more prone to grab it. So if we had a raffle and we said, you know, make sure to take this ticket, at the end someone could possibly win, I don't know, a big screen or anything.
Yeah.
People will grab that ticket and make sure that they have it, and that's a way that we can be able to count them.
Yeah, almost like what I saw last night at the APAC event. Thank you, Mr. Urban. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Marco, I have the question. I will ask about maybe it's in the parent and family engagement or communication. In the scenario when we have low participation,
Yes.
how to find the reason, you know, is yet talking between the school district, staff, employees, or including the community member or family, why they don't have a motivation to come. Maybe we can, for example, the meeting, for example. What is the barrier, what is maybe the time, the meeting, maybe, I don't know.
I think
How to find the answer.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sorry for cutting you off. I think we have to think outside the box as well. In all my years as an educator, I was very frustrated when I would hold meetings and I would have 10 parents in the room, but I invited 100. And many times we think sit and get is still the process for meetings. There are other ways now with technology that we can reach into your home through sorry, somebody help me out here. Yeah, not just Zoom, but the trainings that we have via technology, where people can log on and see what you said at an earlier meeting. So they couldn't come at 4 o'clock, but they can tap into the recording and see what you said, and even still have access to a survey or something like that. So what I'm saying is, yeah, we'll continue to reach out to parents and see about inviting them in, but also going to them. But I think what we're talking about here too, Mr. Spinaqueta, is tapping into other means of engaging parents in the learning process that may even fall outside of coming and sitting amongst us, because parents are so busy nowadays. Just like some of our kids we were talking about in the colleges and universities sometimes don't even report to class. They're doing a lot of things online. So how can we continue to offer things like that as well? That's what we're thinking about. Yes, sir.
I just have a quick question also. So with a lot of these items that are here, what is going to be our baseline, and what tool are we going to use to get find out what these numbers and percentages are, and what are we going to do to track these numbers and percentage to make sure that we're meeting these?
Right, so right now we are gathering baseline data, meaning looking at what we've done over the past few years, looking at how many parents are showing up now, for example. But there's some other data that yet has to come in. For example, as we begin to invite differently, as we begin to engage parents in a different manner, how will we gauge the number of participants showing up next school year, like a year one baseline identification of how well we are doing? Right now, we haven't identified a platform for that outside of Google. Google Suite can, for sign-ins, can track data, can build spreadsheets for you, can also build for you templates where you can present out to the district, or sorry, to the board, but we haven't come up with that platform just yet. Right now, what we do have are the measures that we're going to be going after. So I don't have it all in front of us tonight, but that's still the work that's yet to be seen with our executive team.
So that would be something more like that we'll see.
Yeah.
And you'll track next year.
Yes, sir.
And then so by the second year, you should have some sort of system put in place that we're using.
Strong systems that we begin to improve upon as data comes in and see how we're doing. Yes, sir.
Marcus, point of clarification to make sure I understand. Some of these targets, I believe, are annual, and some of them are over the entire 5-year period?
Yeah, so right now we have some that would say annual because we believe, for example, when we talk about chronic absenteeism, we already know what those are. We already know where we are with that, so let's start decreasing by 5% annually. Some of the other ones that you see that Mr. Irvin just referred to, we are just now developing baseline data, so we're saying it wouldn't be feasible right now to put a straight number on that. Let's get some data before us and then begin to set some targets, if you will, annually.
These targets that are here, you might have answered this. These targets that are here, what was the thought process in establishing them?
Repeat the question for me, sorry.
The targets that are here, for instance, ensure 100% of school sites implement consistent two-way communication.
Great.
That's a bad example, I'm sorry.
right.
How about increase at least 25% annually the number of positive media stories? How did we come up with 25%?
So looking at our data, talking to the experts in the room like Joan Boyko and the work that she does with media and how we can mitigate some of the negativity out there. So these measures that you see here came from long discussions with school site leaders, directors, community members, getting our thought partners in front of us, and then taking the staff, no, I won't say that, putting our best foot forward on how we can improve. And so that's where we are now, but it was long, drawn-out conversations about how we can get better as a district.
Think that these targets they're moving, they're not set in stone.
Right.
So if we see we're decreasing by 40%,
Right.
then we can go to Joe and, hey, we want it to go up to 50%.
We are.
All right.
Process of continuous improvement and capitalizing on any gains that we see. Thank you, sir. I'm going to move us on to the last one.
Can I just add one thing?
Yes.
I would like to, and I don't know if the board feels the same, but I think I would like to see us increase participation and attendance in our school board meetings.
Oh,
And that would also remind, sending links through Parent Square, reminding staff, you are invited. Please join us tonight. Sending links that are not where would they have to go to a web page and find a tiny little spot, but ongoing, hey, tonight's our board meeting. Please join us via Zoom, or excuse me, via YouTube, or
Thank you, Ms. Jarrell. We agree, and
I don't know if the rest
we can
of the
tuck
board-
that into how we're trying to measure our
Yeah.
our partner participation.
Yeah, with a hot link and join us tonight. We're going to be celebrating,
Right.
Rancho Mirage or Palm Springs High School, and let's catch their attention too.
All right. So I'm going to move on to the last one, and bear with us because some of these measures, as you just pointed out, some of them are still a work in progress. They're not finalized because we still have some work to do, and we would bring the board another update in June. So the last page you should be on is Culture and Organizational Excellence, and that's page 7 in the framework. but there's nutrition services workers and a teacher on that last page. And so this pillar and our priorities to unite the district is around OE5, financial planning, OE6, financial administration, OE8, communication with the board as well, OE10, instructional programs, and OE13, diversity and racial equity. So culture and organizational excellence. All staff across the district will share a commitment to scholar success and a culture of innovation, accountability, and empowerment. How do we get that to happen? We'll talk about that shortly. District resources, systems, and infrastructure are aligned and optimized to support scholar needs. District manages resources responsibly with transparency to ensure long-term stability and fiscal sustainability. And then the district attracts, develops, and supports and retains high-quality staff committed to excellence and scholar success. So the last 2 pages there, I'll just read through them. A shared vision of culture and accountability. We want to make sure that we increase by 10% annually positive staff survey responses related to understanding their impact and scholar success and feeling value for their contribution. And that's the annual survey that we have right now in the district. We want our educators and classified staff to feel empowered and like they matter in where we're going as a district. Clarify expectations for all staff around consistent demonstration of the belief statements, which you'll see on the last page there. And how do we measure that? And these are still a work in progress, but we know we need to develop and implement district-wide customer service training to the belief statements. And over time, with 100% of staff participating and evidence of consistent application, so a customer service modules. Every PSUSD team member to receive an evaluation reinforcing the stated beliefs in PSUSD administrators. And this speaks to our evaluation system. And then the third bullet point, deliver annual trainings on both mandated, understanding boundaries, mandated reporter about workplace violence. These are the things that are kind of internal, but they're a part of what we're doing to make sure that we develop a culture of accountability and empowerment of our staff and students. The next one, the learning environment, continue to develop school facilities that are attractive, well-maintained, and that can accommodate growth in programs, and getting our custodial teams and M&O teams feeling like they are part of something real special. 100% of Measure S projects will be designed and planned for construction. 100% of FIT ratings will be at good or higher ratings each year. Number 2, increase efficiency and support improve scholar. Increase efficiency and support improve scholar outcomes through enhanced technology, including application of artificial intelligence. And over this 5-year period, have 100% of our schools fully implement technology-enhanced learning in which AI is supported. AI-supported tools are integrated effectively into instruction. We know that's always that's going to be a work in progress to do that well. And then finally, I'll end on these last ones. Leadership development is very important, as you all know. Expand training opportunities to deepen the development of core skills. Provide annual professional development through aspiring and current leadership academies and really reimagining them towards where we're going as a district. Annually, the paraprofessionals receiving training, facilitate periodic job alike trainings. We didn't put a number by them, but we talked about the need to implement them. And then all principals participating in equity walks and administrative rounds with follow-up and accountability to those. And then further develop our Grow Our Own, which is kind of self-explanatory there. I won't go through those bullet points. Grow our own educators, grow our own leaders, grow our own staff from our scholars on up. And then finally, financial stability and alignment. Stabilize student enrollment, which is going to take all of us, and improve average daily attendance, strengthening the district's fiscal health. And we believe that if we're doing all these things, we recapture students because parents and communities feel excellent about the education that their kids are getting. So monitor enrollment trends and CBEDs, achieve and maintain an ADA above 94%, and absenteeism under 15% district-wide over this time span, and stabilize enrollment and create opportunities for growth. And there were some final measures there, like maintain at least 10% unrestricted fund balance throughout each budget cycle. And this document that I took you through here is more of an internal document. That wouldn't be in a presentation that we send out to the community. But as the board just stated, some of these things will be phased in year 1, others would be phased in year 2, and by year 5, we believe that we'd be able to hit these targets with all of our district offices, our school sites, headed towards the same common goals, which are in line with the OEs, but point us in the direction of the future. So I'll stop right there.
Personally, I think it's a good start. And, gets us going in the right direction. I'm sure it's going to be modified and
Yeah.
adjusted as we go.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good start, good foundational start.
Yeah, Marcos, we had the study session today. Board member, we had questions that we found when we review everything.
Yes, sir.
We are able to contact you, or
Contact me, come and sit with me, talk to me. I love your feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir. It's a working document.
Mr. Irvin?
Yeah, I would like to say, like everybody else said, it is great, and you have a great start going.
Yes, sir.
I always like to see where we are and then see where we're going.
Baseline.
So if you can
Yes, sir.
add in there where we are currently,
Okay.
as soon as you find out exactly where we are at these, with all of these percentages and different things here, when we figure out exactly where we are, can we get that in there so we can see exactly where we are?
Yeah, even if it's a side-by-side, I'll make
Yes,
sure we have
and
that.
then that way we can know where we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With especially the things that we know and the things that we still need to get baseline on data, we'll make that clear too.
Yes, good.
Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Jarrell?
Yes, it's okay to call me Madonna, but I just, that feels like I'm a teacher in today. But I think that, first of all, I appreciate the cross-reference to our board policies.
Yes.
And that is really helpful. And then if you could also, in your calendars, help us on our calendar see the updates
Yes.
over time. You probably thought about that.
That would happen, yeah, over time as we finalize this and then work with the board on your work plan.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to say thank you for all your hard work and all of the staff's hard work. And I know it's taken a lot of work,
Yeah.
but a lot of thought and trying to move our district forward. And I appreciate that.
All right, and I do want to thank my team. I want to thank Dr. Simone Kovacs. I want to thank Jeff Simmons. I want to thank Clayton Hill. I want to thank Laura Musil, Joan Boyko, and I want to thank Jim Delizia. I want to thank Monica Borrego and team as well. There's a lot of hands in this, and we're just getting started. I think Mark Arnold, Julie Arthur, Brad Sauer. Did I miss anybody? Got them all, and I want to thank the board as well for your leadership. We'll continue to refine it. We'll bring it back June, so you'll see another rendition, another version.
And so this here that we have in front of us, these are just the comments and the different people that you have compiled this information with?
Since the last board meeting, and we can send all of the information to you as well, which which is considerable. We'll send that as well. Yes, sir.
All right, thank
Yep.
you.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll now commence to close session.